All right, my children, welcome back to everybody's favorite series, math. So today we are getting into a new chapter, and today we're talking all about ratios. This chapter is all about proportions and relationships between different um, numbers and units and all sorts of things, but we're starting easy today with ratios. Now, I say easy today with ratios. You might be asking yourself, what is a ratio? And fear not, I'm here to tell you. A ratio is a comparison of two things by division. A comparison of two things by division. Now, ratios, if you play sports, ratios are a big deal in sports. They talk about if you play baseball, your on base percentage, or if you play football, it could be your completions to touchdowns, or it could be completions to passes thrown, or it can be if you play basketball, it can be how many free throws you make. What's your ratio of free throws that were made, or all sorts of things involve ratios. And it can be things like, I have a basket of fruit. What's my ratio of apples to oranges? That's not a thing. I have in our class, what's our ratio of boys to girls? At our school, what's our ratio of teachers to students? How many teachers are there for every student? Or how many students for every teacher? And so ratios is a big part in understanding relationships between different quantities, different units, different numbers, different all sorts of different things. Ratios can compare those things. And so there are three ways we write ratios. Man, that was a lot more of a struggle than I thought it would be. There are three ways we write ratios. Man, say that 5 times fast. One way we can write a ratio is to say, let's say we're doing teachers on the third floor. We want to compare the boys and girls teachers on the third floor. And we can say, well, there are two, actually we'll say three, because Mr. Hashley teaches up there sometimes. There are three boys, and that would be myself, Pastor Blake, and Mr. Hashley. And then there would be three girls, Miss Combs, Miss G. Oh no, four girls: Miss Combs, Miss G, Miss Williams, and Miss Roby. Okay, so three boys and four girls. Now, if I wanted to write a ratio, there are three ways I could write this. I could say this is a ratio 3/4. This is one of the more common ways you will see it written. We're going to write it, I'm going to be writing it mostly like this, with ratio 1 divided by ratio 2. It looks like a fraction, and it is. I mean, fraction is just division, and ratios are division. So they're very similar, but I'm not necessarily going to have to even be solving it. It just is to look at it and say, oh, that's a ratio. So I don't even have to solve this fraction. I just am looking at it. So that's one way. Another way I could write it is 3/4. I could write it out like this. And the reason why is because when I say ratios, I say them like this. The ratio is 3/4. This is the say of ratios. This is how you would verbally say a ratio. So even to say this ratio, you would say this is a ratio of 3/4. This is the right. This is the say. And then finally, we have, not 17. Not what I want. 3/4 is another way that we could write a ratio. This is the least common way to see it. You're going to see it mostly like that. Okay, so focus on this one, say it like this one, and then know that this also is one, but it doesn't. We don't really talk about that one. All right. So that is what a ratio is. Okay, a ratio is comparing two different things using division. All right, so if I were to say something like, all right, let's go back to my basket of fruit example. I've got a basket of fruit, and in that basket of fruit, I have, this is why I'm not an art teacher. I have some apples. I have some, oof. Yikes. Those might be the worst bananas I've ever drawn in my life. I have some bananas, and I have some oranges. Okay, I've got apples, bananas, and oranges. Now, let's say I wanted to write a ratio. What is my ratio of apples to oranges? What's my ratio of apples to oranges? Well, I want to look, and I want to say, all right, so the first value here, the first thing it is asking me is the value that I want to put on top. And the second value is the value I put on bottom. So this is going to be a ratio that's apples to oranges. And now I just look at my information here and I say, well, I have 4 apples and I have 2 oranges. My ratio is 4 to 2. I could take this and I can say, well, 4 and 2 can actually be simplified, both be divided by 2, and I can get 2, 2, 1. This is the simplest version. This is correct from the picture, but this is the simplest version. Remember, we always want to simp in math, okay? So much as we can, we want to simplify down our ratios. All right, what if I said, I don't want this anymore. What if I said I want the ratio of bananas to all fruit? How many bananas are there in comparison to all of the fruit? So I'm going to write this again. First unit goes on top, and then all fruit goes on bottom. This would be, well, I have 5 bananas, and all of the fruit, I have 4 apples, I have 4 apples, I have 2 oranges, and I have 5 bananas. So I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total pieces of fruit. So my ratio would be 5 to 11. All right, and then the last thing I want to talk about is when we make a ratio out of something like a table, and then we can even compare tables based upon what we have going on. So if I have a table, oops, let's add over there. Whoa, that is really big. Do not need it to be this big. There we go. I haven't really made tables on this thing before. Okay. I don't quite know what I'm getting myself into here. Sorry, children. Would have been much easier to just, drawn this all out. Yeah, but why do the easy thing when you can do the thing that is taking up way more time than you ever planned? All right, let's say I have a table, and finally it looks like this. All right, and then in here I want to say this will be my relationship of boys and girls, and I want to know what is my ratio of boys to girls in multiple different classes. Weirdly, I don't actually know this information off the bat, but we'll say this is first, second, fourth, and fifth period. How many boys and how many girls are in each class? Let's say in first period, I have 10 boys and 12 girls. In second period, I have 8 boys and 15 girls. Fourth period, I have 11 boys and 13 girls. And then in fifth period, I have, and this is where you guys are actually in this class, so sorry if I'm miscounting. I'm not actually counting, I'm just guessing. 9 boys and 13 girls. Okay, so then I can say, all right, well, what is my ratio of boys to girls in each of my classes? Well, this ratio would be 10 over 12. This would be 8 over 15, 11 over 13, and 9 over 13. And this would simplify down. This is the only one that can simplify. This would become 5 to 6. And so then I can use this table to make different relationships of my ratios of my different class periods. So that is how you can use a table to be making different ratios and pulling information off of that table to make all of the ratios. All right, now before we go, whoa, that's not what I wanted. Before we go, just know that in our middle school, there are 100 and I have no idea. 119 middle schoolers, and there are 119 students and 7 teachers. What is my ratio in simplest form of students to teachers? All right, have a great night. I will see you all tomorrow. We'll talk a little more about this, and then we'll move on. Bye.